Okay, so last time we left it here, we just started to detect the taps from the square, and we can get the square, the column and the row for each one. And we're going to do it so basically that deletes a letter if there's one there already. So can I just do that really? Basically we need to what should we do? Write a test first. If we look in our package, we haven't been doing many tests. This is a game feature test. So we could set up a board on our game. So let's do that first. Let's do a bit test first. Yeah, so test first. Let's write the test first. See what we need to implement in order to make it pass. And today, because I did very long ones yesterday, I'm going back to Pomodoro, but I'm going to give myself 30 minutes, because, or even 35. We'll try 30. Because it is slower when I'm trying to talk and I haven't made a plan. This is just absolutely made up as I go, so it's slow going sometimes. So we're gonna test delete typing. Right, so that's our test. We need to create a mock board, I guess. So we're going to create a store. It's going to be cool to change the keyboard layouts as well, isn't it? So, mock game in progress. Let's have a quick look at that. We've got two guesses, guessed and words. So what we want to do is, let's have a second one. Got a new mock game. So let's start with a new. Mock a new game. And what's the game environment then? Let's check on that. So we just nulled out most of our environments, didn't we? It's void, is it? Well, we're going to find out. Yeah. Yes. Okay, we need to change a few things to make our tests pass. Right. So does that fix? That fixes all of them. Fix that one. Okay. So here we go. In our store, we're going to send keyboard event, user tap letter. I'm going to tap A, and that's on the keyboard. So that is going to, and then we're going to the next thing we're going to do is send board event with a row 0, a row action can have a letter event, I think that's going to have to be square, a 0, the action is user tapped. So that's basically tapping A and then tapping that. So those are the two things we're testing, and what we need to do is test that. What we're going to expect from this is that the board guesses somehow goes back to being empty. After this, we're expecting, so I'm sort of doing the board's guesses to equal oops. I don't know what the actual type of guesses is. Word guess. A word guess is a partial string, right? So it's going to be actually partial of A. So we're creating a new test store with a new mock game, so there's nothing on the board. We're going to tap A, then we're going to tap the board, and that's how we expect it to go. Ooh, what else have we missed here then? Oh, that's interesting, because it's not a guess, is it, that we have here at all? It's no, it is a guess. It should be partial. So what is missing here? Oh, we need to be in the game. Not in the board. Hold on. What's the difference between the game and the board in this then? In our game state we've got a game, we don't have a board. Oh, we do have a board. Oh, okay. I was accessing this board, but that's not really the purpose of this board. Okay. Right, I've got some naming things to deal with. Right, that's better. So user tap letter A gives me a partial answer of A, correct. But when we tap it again, we want it to disappear. So we need to implement this. This is really square, so I'd like to rename that. To square. action is really user tapped. Okay, and I want the action in the letter view, so this is going to be a square view, really. Okay, I'll do. So what we need to do is, when in the game feature, can we do some of that? Okay, don't know everything. Here, so this is where we're going to detecting the user tap letter. Ooh. This is keyboard action. In the board then. So here, this is where it's in the board reducer that we do this. But actually what we need to do now is essentially, if see what we've got in our state. I'm not sure we've got anything. Right. We've got guesses, scores. So we need if state guesses. Going to guard that, I think. Guard. The guesses count has to be less than the row, and the row dot less than the column. I'm not going to do anything for any blank spots. Okay. What is the guess? It's a word guess. Oh, it's this enum. So we need to grab the letters. None. Right. Now we can access the. Now we don't even need to know what the letter is. But what we can do is delete it, and it's got to be the last one because we can't delete anything in the completed guesses. That's true, isn't it? So this actually has to be equal to the row minus equal to row plus 1. the row must be less than or equal to -1. Yeah. Okay. So we can't do that. Will stop us from deleting letters from lines we've already finished. And then what we're going to do is here, instead of printing something, we can actually change the guesses in the row from the column. So start with guesses. Take the row, draw the dot, that's interesting. Let's get the letters. Probably can make it a variable. And then we're going to drop the last and can we just drop it here? That's going to be last 5 minus row, 4 minus row. Column. So if we hit column, that's 5. If we hit column 0, we're going to drop the last. Oh no, it depends how many there are. Array letters. Yeah, there are enough. We're always getting this 5, but I don't really like this code, but we do have a configuration here we can use. Here. Well, this now kind of relies on the implementation of this letters, which I don't like, this knowing this about it. So I feel like I should give this to the, do a drop, give this to the row, to the word guess. Do a drop in. And it's going to produce a self. So we take it, I'm going to copy this switch, now guard in more than 0, else just return. If we're final, then actually self. Otherwise, we're going to return a partial of, and grab our letters, configuration, minus n, didn't need that. And I've run out. Oh, I think cannot convert because we're using indexed. So we can map that. Yeah, maybe I'm mumbling too much to myself here and need to remember to talk more loudly. Right, so we're going to map this to the element of the indexed. So essentially, if we're going to drop something, we're going to drop the maximum count minus n, so 0 would obviously return, so 1 would drop 4. Is that right? 1 would drop 4. No, the last 5. No, that's incorrect. We just want to drop n. Then we're going to map it to character, an array of characters, which we then need to turn into a string. It's a bit of a, so we could. So we're just going to do it like this now. Okay. So we're mapping the characters, we're dropping the last n. Well, we go back to where I was editing. Here. We can do so here we're going to drop in the last. So now if we've hit column 4, we want to drop the last 5. So that is, if we hit 3, so that's actually going to be the column plus 1. If I can find the bloody plus sign, I've forgotten where it is. Where is the plus? So the further along it is, the more we drop from the last. Okay, so this is changing the letters. This is changing it in this state here. So we can get rid of that print. And that's in the board reducer. But when we change the state in the board state, we don't set anything. So we actually need to when we set the rows, we don't need to do anything. But when we set guesses, so what are we changing? Oh, we haven't actually changed anything. Right. So now we need to tell the state that its guesses, we need to drop the last one, move last. I'm pretty sure I could have. Yeah. because we moved it, we're going to then add in the state. This is append so we're changing the guesses here in this state, the board state. Now, when we create the board state, we actually create it in the game feature using here. So this is when we create. Now this is where we need to complete the binding, as it were, which we didn't do before because we didn't really need to, because we weren't really changing much. Well, you do wonder why that hasn't drawn anything. But now we need to go self equals new value. New value. Okay, so this basically now is a binding to this board. So the board state is now bound completely to the game here. So these guesses and scores will be bound to the game's guesses and scores. Now, when we added the keyboard, when we did the keyboard, you see, what happened was the keyboard reducer. We need to go to the keyboard. So the keyboard reducer would have. Oh, we're not doing anything keyboard, right? Let's wait. We'll do that a bit later. But that should, in theory, work. If we want to build it without an error. Oh, what we need to do is to do the run the test first. Let's do that. Is that a test, isn't it? Okay. And we've still got failure. So what is our failure doing? Whoa. So we got A, R. And we appear to have got a bunch of word scores. For some reason. Now I'm gonna no, it's in the game feature. Just not copy the scores over because I need to think about why that's not working as a separate thing. Run the tests. Test failed again. Hopefully more obvious. So basically it hasn't changed the word guess at all. It's a bit of a pain because we kind of thought it would. So let's see. We've got this keyboard user tablet and then the game feature goes, we are adding this word score, so we probably need to remove the word score and add it. That's probably one of the problems. Should have checked this in beforehand. I've got too much stuff going on. So we're checking. Let's just run the test. Right. Let's have a look at what we've got. So we've detected tap. Right. That's the time up. I'll just put 5 more minutes just in case, but I think we'll go through this test and get that working. So the row is 0 and the state of guesses count should be, it's full. Okay, we filled it up with partials, which I remember at the time going, oh, this is not gonna, it's gonna bite me in the butt at some point, and that's what it's done. So we've got far too much here. So the fix, I think, is to not initialize this guesses with a repeating value. Stop there. So, which means we need to create the game. When we create the game, give it a game. Let's got some guesses. What happens when it creates the board? Yeah. So I think the board needs to have all the rows. The game doesn't. And this is why the game state should be different to the board state. The board state is going to have all the rows, but the game state isn't going to have all the rows. So the game state is only going to have rows that it needs. So when we build it, when do we build it? In the app feature. So we've got current game, return game state, current game. We create it in the starter app. Yes, we're starting with a mock new game, which probably is a game. I can't see where we're getting all these things. Maybe it's just in the board. Yes, it's here, filled with partial too. So what we need to do is, when we, in that set here, we actually need to filter out the empty partials. So we're going to use this, is empty. So we're going to filter out all the empty ones. That's going to be our guesses. And I'm going to fix that problem, I hope. Oh no. I didn't do anything. No, it's in the board. Surely it's in the board. Yeah, it's this bit. I don't know why I can see that. Right. Why? Oh, again we're using this count. That's no good. Because our board, no good. Okay. When we draw the board, then what are we doing? We're going for each store. Okay. And this is never going to work. That works. This is never going to work. So if it's got to be not empty. And basically we're going to check that the row is not empty. If it's not empty, we check that the number of letters in it count is less than the column. Let's see if that works. I just find that most programming seems to be rewriting what you started off with, and you kind of knew you were going to do something bad, and then you end up doing it anyway, and you end up in a mess. So there's a lesson. I think the problem I've got now, and I need to do it in another Pomodoro, is I want to actually change the board representation to be a board with fixed number of rows and columns, and change the game's guesses to be what's actually happened. So the board is going to be different now to the game. So I'm going to remove guesses and scores from the board and make it an actual two-dimensional array, sort of, in concept. It's going to be different because the board is a representation of what we're going to see in the board view. So the game is really more abstract and is what's happening in the game, and they muddle it up, and that's why code I think should work is not really working for me. So that's what I'm going to do next time.